I'm making this video about the Detroit teachers sick out, and there is a common thread with the Flint water crisis. That common thread is Darnell Easley. This man has basically come in and basically destroyed the Detroit school system. I'm going to play the video from News 1 to give you some background on this. And they're basically going to tell you that the governor of Michigan jumped in to take control of the Detroit school system, which at that time was running surpluses and had just gotten funding for a $1.5 billion bond issuance in order to take care of any of the issues as far as construction, updating, class sizes, etc., that Detroit was anticipating. Now, Roland is going to reference an issue with one of the school board supervisors as far as fraud is concerned, but the representative counters that with her statements. So let's roll the video.
All right, folks, the Michigan court has denied Detroit Public Schools' request for a temporary restraining order halting teacher sick outs. As we've been reporting, the teachers in Detroit are sick and tired of the dilapidated conditions of the schools, overcrowded classrooms, and low salaries. The organized group of teachers calling themselves #DPS Teachers Fight Back have now staged 2 sick outs to bring attention to the matter. The district will plead this case again at a hearing Monday in Detroit. We reached out to the Detroit Public Schools Administration, and they sent us an email that states, "Park, it's extremely important that the court play a role in the resolution of this issue. We look forward to the opportunity to inform the court of the serious effects that these continued sick outs have on the district, its students, and their families at the hearing on Monday." Here to give us an update on what's going on there is Michigan State Representative Shelley Gay Daniogo and instructional specialist for Detroit Public Schools, Lucida Walker. Lucida, I want to start with you because the district is painting this as teachers are demanding more money. But we've seen photos and video of deplorable conditions in the classrooms, and give us a sense of what happened when you and others said, "Hey, I need y'all guys to fix this."
Well, you know, it's been an ongoing situation, and as instructors, we have just kind of dealt with it. We've dealt with it. We have loyalty to our district. But when it got to the point where the emergency manager, which was the same emergency manager that was in Flint when the water crisis started, when the emergency manager called us unethical, things began to change. He must go. The conditions are deplorable in some of the buildings, oversized classrooms, poor air quality, there's a lack of technology, hazardous conditions, and there's excessive testing. Pay is something that's really important, because when you have the neediest kids, when they're the most marginalized students, when they're the most vulnerable, you have to pay to have those students supported in the correct way. But we need our buildings, and we need our class sizes reduced, and we need our buildings in a condition that is conducive to learning.
Now, that emergency matter is the aforementioned Darnell Easley. I'm sorry, Darnell Early.
I want to go to Representative Shelley, please. So your perspective on this, because again, when I see these photos and these videos, I'm saying I don't know how any child can get an education in these conditions, and how in the world a teacher can teach in these conditions.
You're absolutely right, and thank you, Roland. I'm Sherry Gay Daniogo, but I appreciate you having us on to talk about this very critical issue. You know, what's important to note here is it's the same emergency manager that Mr. Darnell Early, that is also the emergency manager, or was the emergency manager for the Flint water crisis. And we've seen under our current governor now more school closures in the history of any other governor in Michigan, more than 30 Detroit public schools. You have to look at the history of what's taken place with DPS since 1999, when we had a $1.5 billion bond to build our infrastructure, and the state took over at that time. We had 167,000 students. They have now, under state control, plummeted enrollment to 47,000 students. It is the greatest heist in the history of America that has been placed over Black urban communities, and it's as if they don't even care about children in the city of Detroit or urban communities. And so this is the result of emergency manager law. We've had.
I gotta ask you a question though. I gotta ask you this question though, and I understand your sentiment, but is it solely the issue of an emergency manager? But let's also be honest. It's not like the Detroit public school system has not had issues with corruption and leadership. So in order for an emergency manager to be put over the district, there had to be something that caused that. And so we can't let those folks off the hook that put folks in this situation.
Roland, that's not exactly true. I sent your producer.
Okay, one second. Say, Representative, you go right ahead. And then
I said that's not true. I sent your producers a graph that highlighted the history of Detroit Public Schools, which started in 1999. Under the school board, we had 167,000 students. We had a $93 million surplus. The then Governor Engler then put in place Public Act 10, which was a way for them to take the construction dollars and fund money or send money to construction entities that really benefited off the backs of our children. It was then that we started seeing the dismantling of the enrollment. It started plummeting. The money started disappearing. And then you see 16 years where the Detroit School Board hasn't even had any authority over instruction or over our schools.
But you also
there's been a state-created deficit, just like Detroit bankruptcy was as well.
But here's the deal, though. You also had a Detroit School Board president who was functionally illiterate. We covered that story as well, which was problematic in terms of, again, the leadership there. Letitia, you want to respond? Go right ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm Lasita.
My apologies. Go right ahead.
That's okay. I wanted to say in 1999, we had a $100 million nearly surplus in our budget. And within 4 years, once the emergency manager law came in existence, we were down to a $48 million deficit.
So the question,
and our budget has gone in decline since that time until now. It's like over a $500 million deficit.
So
whomever was in place, we still had a surplus in our district.
So
there was a surplus.
Here's my question.
And the surplus changed once the emergency managers came into place.
Let's see, will teachers continue the sick out?
Well, I'm going to tell you, we're not going to give you our strategy at this point and make it national news, but keep in mind that we are going to continue to fight for our children. We are going to continue to fight for our communities because, again, it needs to be turned over to local control. Just like the people elected the mayor and he's in place, they elected the school board and they should be in place. The emergency manager law, another reason for it was because they wanted to control that $1.5 billion bond. That's when it first happened, when they wanted to come in and control that bond money. They didn't want the citizens of Detroit to control it.
Well, here's what I certainly hope happens. What I certainly hope happens is that the district and the state can deal with this because it certainly impacts teachers, but also impacts students being able to get their education. Folks, I got to go to a break. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much for joining us. And we're
So here we are. You have a Republican governor who turns around, by hook or crook, finds a way to jump in and take control of the city of Detroit, and in particular the city of Detroit school district, in order to get their hands on $1.5 billion in bond money. And in order to do what wasn't done, that bond money was funneled out to various cronies that the governor and his lackeys owed favors to. That money starts disappearing, and then they turn around and scapegoat one of the members of the school board, convict him of corruption. But where did all the rest of that money go? And why does a school district go from running positive cash flow to running deficit cash flows in the period of 2 to 3 years? This needs to be investigated both on the Flint, Michigan side and on the Detroit side, because as the representative indicated, the governor has come in and basically gutted the Detroit school system and money has gone into pockets that it shouldn't have gone into.